Well, I am here with Lora Klaus at Olympia Lacey Church of God. So I'm going to do an interview with her and just kind of ask her what's going on at her church and see what God's doing here. So, do you mind just introducing yourself all the way?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Lora Klaus. I am the worship pastor at this church, and I've been the worship pastor here for about 5 years. My husband and I are also senior pastors here, so altogether we've been here 11 years.
Okay, great. So in the Olympia area itself, how long have you been here?
11. We moved here 11 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Let's see. So you said you've been serving at your church for 5 years. So your church motto, what is that like? What is your?
Yeah, we have a vision, kind of a simple set of words. That's kind of our vision statement, which is know, grow, and show, which are kind of three simple things that people would come to know God and grow in their relationship with Him, and then to show Christ to the world.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So, in the musical sense, how has the worship here impacted you?
I think it's been a situation of really appreciating what was here in order to see it become something else. So I think we came into a church that really felt quite like it'd been kind of in the same space for a long time. So there was a very traditional worship, and then also just quite an aging congregation, which really appreciated that traditional worship. And as the church kind of has grown and moved forward, we kind of in our ministry, we've just introduced more a mix of types of music. So it kind of went from that blended services with worship music and a lot of hymns, and then moving really for about the last 6 or 7, maybe even more than that years, into a fully contemporary worship setting. So what that's done for me is I think I've had to learn to appreciate where they were coming from, because I didn't grow up listening to a lot of hymns or formal church music. Right. And so, and I love contemporary music of all kinds, and contemporary worship music especially. And so I think I've learned to honor in order to see what God wants to release now. So.
Okay. So just impromptu question here. How is the congregation taking that kind of worship change? Because like our own church, the leaders wanted newer stuff versus just the congregation saying, "Hey, we want some new songs. You know, what can we do about that?" So, do you have an older congregation now, or do you have a lot of younger people? You know, where are your people coming from?
So I think we have kind of a mix of older and younger, so that the older core is still here, and then added to with probably middle-aged to younger people. So I would say it's been neat to see that older generation really grasp a hold of just enjoying worship in a different way. So you know, like more expansive in worship. We see a lot more movement in worship, and sense that, you know, just people are comfortable expressing themselves in worship in a lot more demonstrative ways. And so I think overall it's been received pretty well. I think for some it's always going to be tough. So I think there's some that maybe were in quite an older generation, which now, you know, 11 years later, they'd probably be in the 80s and 90s, really. You know, like they may not still be here. Like they kind of had to find that environment where that just felt good and safe for them in that very traditional style. So I think for the most part accepted. Occasionally I think still it's always a challenge, because I think as we age in general, we become very just sentimental about what we knew growing up. And so I try to honor that though too, by knowing that we do need to bring some of those songs back in and enjoy them again.
Yeah, thank you. What we try to incorporate is at least like one hymn, you know, type thing. So we'll have our set, and then we play "Jesus Paid It All," or we'll do "Because He Lives." You know, something like that, where it's still engaging the older members of the congregation.
Yeah.
So, so the next question I have is, how has Jesus, through your church, impacted the community or impacted the neighborhood?
Right. Yeah. So that was kind of our heart coming in, just feeling like, with the church sitting we are on a corner on 5 acres in the middle of a lower to middle class suburban neighborhood. So I feel like our heart was, we want to make sure that the people in this neighborhood feel that this church is present and here.
Yeah.
And so our thought to make that kind of a simple thing initially was just some ways that we could just serve our community with no strings attached. And so I think one of the ways that they felt that we were here is we do a lot of outreaches to our community and just kind of like throwing parties for fun. So we have a huge backpack giveaway and a big block party every year, which has been really popular in our community. So we'll have a couple thousand people come once a summer. And our church is just a couple hundred people, so it's kind of interesting, but it just, that has worked because of our location, and also our city of Lacey, Washington doesn't have a real city center. So, kind of it's an advantage, I think, to be able to create moments where it feels like there's a core of something that's happening. So that's just a simple way, and then some other similar type things that we do to serve our community. And that's been just a good way to help our people too, to be kind of turn them outwards towards this is the needs of our community. And I think it's an ongoing thing, because I think it goes from, okay, you can throw a one-time event, or you can really invest a lot in your community in these ways, and now we're trying to turn into, as just our discipleship being more like, what are you personally feeling like you want to do in your life to follow where God is leading you through the Holy Spirit. So trying to work on kind of getting it off the event moment or things that we throw as a church, but how is God sending you out personally?
Yeah.
So we're kind of headed that way.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So the next question, how has Jesus impacted you in your ministry? And I'll say through Olympia Lacey Church of God.
Through the church itself.
Through the church here, how has Jesus impacted you in your ministry?
Okay. So I would say through this church, I think I've learned a lot about, again, I think honor, because it had a very specific idea of itself, and I think it's been Jesus has helped me to become humble and also available, because I never thought I would lead worship. I mean, I feel always called to ministry. I've always done music and shared on worship teams and things, but when this opportunity came up, there was this moment of people around me confirming that we really feel like we should do this. And so Jesus has changed me, and just given me this confidence and understanding the authority that he's given me to do this, and that really the Holy Spirit is active in us as we just relinquish ourselves to him. And so in what God was trying to accomplish spiritually in our church at the time, my leadership or my openness to just see God move was what was needed for that moment. So that's nothing on me. It's just something that I think God wanted to do at that time. So I've learned a lot just about, just submit and see what happens. And then, of course, my leadership has grown, and, just my general sense of calling. Right now I'm in the process of being ordained as a pastor in our movement. And just, God, I just believe God's just always wanting to change us and grow us and lead us. So,
That's so cool. So I have just a couple more questions, and the next two questions kind of have a emphasis with them. But where do you see yourself in 5 years? And with that emphasis would be, is it at your church in the same role as worship leader, or you said you were kind of working on your way to be ordained. So is it going to be in the same role, or helping, or doing a different role at your church, or do you think you're going to be somewhere else just because of growth with the church? Do you see it? So
I would say it's always hard to say where you'll be, but in the next 5 years, I would say I definitely feel that my job is shifting already right now to who am I investing in that will be leading worship in this church in the future. And so just making sure that I'm cultivating leaders underneath me, so that they can kind of move into these spaces. So that's one of my jobs, I think, right now that I feel like God's telling me. And then also I really think to preach and to teach more. and to write. So those are three things that I think that I'm supposed to be doing more in the next 5 years and the rest of my life, and trying to be obedient to do those things and make time to develop certain of those, the parts of those things that are creative things in my life. I don't know in terms of where we'll be, but I definitely will be excited to still be here, but I also really, we're always asking the Lord, those questions like, God, how are you going to bring this church to everything you see it being, and who are you going to use?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Caitlin and I, have the same thing as, well, we don't know if we're going to be in the same area in 5 years, but when we ask, it's like we say, God, we just want to do what you want us to do. If it's your council vision, then that's where you want us. If it's not, show us now, because we want to do your work, and I want to do his work. But God is the ultimate leadership of where you're supposed to go, and sometimes it's going to be quiet because maybe you have to stay there. But so thanks for answering that question. And then the last one is, what do you think God is up to in the Pacific Northwest? And that the parentheses I made is, obviously we can't all know, or we can't know all of what God is doing, because he's God. We don't know everything, but based on everything he's accomplished so far, obviously, with your church, how many members you have, the things you put on where thousands of people come, that type of thing. What do you suppose he can do?
Well, I am a big believer that, I can't remember sure about this, but 11 years ago when we came here, I feel like we stood in this parking lot and we saw that God wanted, just revival to come to this place. I think we felt a pretty significant amount of spiritual warfare and just deadness, in these areas, and I think others would say that as well. And so there's been some spiritual battle to exist here and to thrive here. But we really felt that we saw, that God was going to just, rain his power down, and we would see revival come, and we believe that could come in a sort of a manifest, revival where people just, are just drawn to God kind of inexplicably, as we see in other revivals of history, but also that we really feel strongly that it's through just individuals who are discipled and passionate, and we're living, like the New Testament church. So I believe that sort of unction, from the Holy Spirit to say, he wants to move, are we going to let him move? Are we going to receive this move of God? Yeah. And as a worship leader, I feel that from the Lord, that I just think that he just wants us to know there's so much more, that we are living in just sort of a tiny little corner of his real estate. And we really want to see him free to move, and that sort of takes our willingness as well. So I think he is up to something, though, and I think I see unity and collaboration happening among the body of Christ, which is a huge key, I think, to revival as a whole. And I also think that the youngest generation coming up, like 2 of my children are Generation Z. They're like 14 to 18 years old, and I really think that some of those younger generations are, and maybe all my children will see a revival in their lifetime, and that they're going to be a huge part of it, because they seem to carry a passion that they're not happy with what is, but they really want to be part of changing the status quo. Right. And even if they're standing alone, and because obviously not many of their generation are going to be Christ followers, I think that is almost like sets it up, for revival to occur. So I have all faith that God will continue his purposes and plans here. But I see good things. I see movement over the last 10 to 11 years where we're all seeing the need, and also a huge move towards corporate prayer and a movement of prayer in preparation for what's coming.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions that I had. But I just, want to personally thank you for doing the interview with me, just being real. You know, you didn't have to rehearse the questions or anything, but also I think my vision, you know, especially for Capital Vision, we're an entire group here in the Northwest of different congregations, different people. There's people that want to be outside. They would rather do something besides church, and there's people that love going to church, and we want to be part of the Big C church, like John Kobler talks about. And I think those events, like when we go to pray at their church, or when we can do interviews with different, you know, denominations, technically, whatever, we can love on each other, because we are all together children of God, and that's, I think, our first thing that we have to realize. And whether we're you know, Assemblies of God or non-denominational or Baptist, whatever, we can come together corporately and pray to the same God. And when we're singing to the same God, because He is ultimate, and that's what we have chosen for our lives, whether we're working a different job or our full-time job is ministry. So thank you so much for just a high five.
Awesome.
I really appreciate the interview. So
Thank you for coming.
yeah, no problem. So thanks for watching. We'll continue on with the series of interviews. Thanks.